Things have just gotten extremely interesting for the Minnesota Wild as forward Mats Zuccarello has revealed the plan for the remainder of his contract and potential career with the Minnesota Wild. We're going to be talking about that as well as Joel Eriksson Ek. We now know the extent of his injuries that he suffered this season, and this is genuinely crazy. We're going to be talking about all of that here in this video. Very quickly, before we jump into it, as Josh has mentioned in the last few videos, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and we just hit 500. We appreciate all of you guys. And if you haven't hit the sub button already, be sure to do so right now if you're looking for all of your Minnesota Wild news. But without any further ado, let's get straight into our first subject here, which is, of course, Mats Zuccarello. In the postseason press conference, the end-of-the-year press conference, he'd spoken out about his career, what is going to be happening, where he plans on going, which, as you see here, is heading into the final year of his deal with the Minnesota Wild. Now, at 38 years old, or going to be 38, I should say, when this contract second year kicks in, he is nearing the end. And I think that's something that we could safe to say. I think that's something he would admit as well, because, you know, with that age, he's being one of the best in the NHL for his age for the past few years. And as Josh mentioned, when you look at him the past few years, over the past few seasons with the Wild, a lot of people, some of the people who don't follow the Wild will never say that he is a 70, 80 point getter, and it goes to show the level that he is still competing at. But when Mats Zuccarello has spoken out, he's spoken out about the possibility of moving on, of staying here. This is what he had to say. I don't want to be the guy who just plays to play. I want to play because I feel like I'm good enough to play. So that's why I got to take next year to see where the team is going, where I would fit in or whatever. That's something. So Mats Zuccarello really admitting that, you know, things are changing. The Minnesota Wild is changing. The league is changing. And so is he. He's getting older. And the idea that he wants to play to be good, play to matter instead of just playing to play, is something that I feel like he's really, you know, lived by the past few seasons as well, because he's been able to compete and excel over these past few seasons with the Wild, even at an older age compared to majority of the NHL and majority of the Wild as well, as this team is really turning into a younger group of players. And when we look at Mats Zuccarello's stats from this season, he was pretty good once again. 69 games played, 54 points, averaging just about 20 minutes time on ice, and has handed the second line majority of this season. Him and the Kaprizov separated over a little bit this year, and it's a bit of a difference from what we had seen the past few seasons, where he would be on that first line paired with Kaprizov, and having his play this year, having more of a secondary defensive play there with the 62.3% Corsi, still at 54 points in 69 games, as you know, Kaprizov's injury was affected by that. He'd take a step up. He missed a few games with, of course, that shot from Matt Boldy, which he blocked and ruptured his testicle. Crazy to kind of look at that as it was, but at his age, he's still competing, and it makes sense why he still wants to play on this team if he's able to. And he goes on once again to continue with this and says, I think we could play together. This is about Kaprizov. I don't know yet, but 6 years before has been okay. No, you got to play with who you got to play with. Obviously, you'd like to play with Kirill, but when you don't, you got to make the best out of it. Yeah, that's just how it goes. So, once again, Mats Zuccarello, knowing that things are changing, the Wild are getting younger, some better players are coming in, i.e. Matt Boldy, Joel Eriksson Ek, to play on that first line, and we saw this year, especially in the playoffs, when that line was on, that line was rolling. So I hope we do see that continue into next season. Hopefully we see Eriksson Ek stay healthy, and you never know where else the Wild go. And we're going to have a video later today featuring what Bill Guerin had said about the search for the Minnesota Wild forwards in free agency. Very interesting, so be sure to stick around for that. Another reason to sub if you haven't already. But we have one more quote here, one more little screenshot here regarding Mats Zuccarello and the possibility of him ending his NHL career next season at the end of his deal. Goes once again to show that this Wild team is losing depth fast. And this kind of comes into play what Bill Guerin has said and what he said in the press conference today, that they're going to be looking for more depth. They're going to be looking for scoring. And you know, taking out Mats Zuccarello from this lineup, and when we're looking at the Puckpedia one here, the depth immediately drops off quite a bit. Zuccarello has been your primary scorer on this second half of the roster, so, you know, or I should say the end of the bottom six, and when you go with Rossi potentially being moved as well, things are getting a bit out of hand for the Wild early on in this offseason, but we have to trust them. We know that things are going to be changing, and hopefully it's changing for the best, and hopefully we do see Mats Zuccarello stick around for the entirety of next year, because we never know what really happens around the trade deadline with players in this contract range. So it'll be interesting to see what Mats Zuccarello's idea is when it comes to next season, how he plays, and I think we'll know pretty early on what the look will be for him on this team. But we got also to speak about Joel Eriksson Ek, and as mentioned, you see the little tiny, I'll pull it up on the bigger screen there, the cross next to his name with the health being injured for a majority of the season was a big issue that the Wild had with their center depth, knowing that Marco Rossi and Matt Boldy were the only two to be able to play in all 82 games this season. It goes to show that health is going to be a big priority for Joel Eriksson Ek this season. Now knowing what he went through this season, we're very lucky that he played the amount he did, because when we go, of course, look at injury from Zuccarello there, that's when he took that shot from Matt Boldy. But when it comes down to Joel Eriksson Ek as well, he's been a guy that really needs to stay healthy. I think that's what the Wild are going to be looking at when it does come down to free agency this year, and also the idea of trading Marco Rossi. If we don't get a healthy Joel Eriksson Ek for all of next season, we get rid of Marco Rossi, and maybe the Wild, let's just say, lose out on a top center that they want, they're going to have no center depth. They're going to have some younger players coming up, but when it comes down to experience and everybody that in the list that could play center and really work into a center role and be confident there, Freddie Gaudreau and Ryan Hartman are the two there that are featured for a top center possibility, which is not something that I want to say we want to go deep into the season with, but I trust him for a game if need be. But when it does come down to Joel Eriksson Ek, looking at the following season that lined up 5 times in different injuries, that he has a sports hernia now to end the season, will be getting surgery for that. So hopefully when we do see him get this surgery, come back, go rest up home in Sweden. Don't move for the summer. Go lie down, sit down, have a nice little workout. Take it easy, Joel, because we need you next season more than ever. And I think that's getting more and more evident as this kind of press conferences and these year-end press conferences come by with all the injuries people are dealing with, what the plan is going to be for next year. And this is what Joel Eriksson Ek had to say about the topic. And he says it's hard to think that's part of it, but when it builds up like that, for sure it gets hurt. Especially, it also mentally, you get drained having those nagging things. It's no fun. Just going to try and get healthy and feel good. So at least we're seeing that. At least that's what he's hoping for. And, it's going to be a big, big thing to take on next season when we look at his play, evaluate what we need to do down the middle. And it's going to be a big thing to see if he's going to be ready to begin next season. I think all signs are going to be pointing to yes. I think we have a great set of plans for this season at center and the way that we're going to be lining up next year. And hopefully we do see him stay healthy, because that's a known big issue for this. But as you see, core muscle surgery in New York next week before returning to off-season home in Karlstad, Sweden. He did go to see the doctor that Kirill Kaprizov went and saw this season as well. So we saw how good that ended up for the Wild at the end of the season, where he was able to play after missing an extended period of time, half the season exactly, missing 41 games. And so hopefully we're seeing all the right things done. And, I have full confidence in these doctors to get Eriksson Ek healthy and let him rest up, because we know that we need that really, really bad. So many words can describe it, but finally we're going to see him healthy. But that's all I got in this video. Like I said, we're going to have a video later today about the press conference that Bill Guerin and John Hynes had. A lot of stuff being revealed about the moves that are going to be made by the Minnesota Wild, what ideas are going to be there. So be sure to stick around for that. Hit the sub button if you haven't already. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.